Hi everybody, Dan Illman here with the DRF race of the day for Tuesday, August the 16th. It's race number 7 at Colonial Downs, the $150,000 Buckland Stakes going 1 1/8 on the turf. Let's take a look at this field. Want to view free Formulator past performances for this race? Head to the Race of the Day page at DRF.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel and bet this card with DRF Bets. The stakes races at Colonial have been competitive and strong all season long, and it will be no exception on Tuesday. Several stakes events, several excellent betting races. I'm focusing on the Buckland because you've got a pretty full field of evenly matched turf horses, and that just makes for a strong betting race usually. We'll throw up the Timeform US pace projector. Always important to try to figure out how the race is going to be run from a pace standpoint. Curious to see if the 7 Roadster, a horse that has shown good speed on dirt, will be able to show that sort of early zip on the grass. This will be his first grass start after 15 lifetime starts on the main track. He has not won a race since he captured the 2019 Santa Anita Derby. He has some turf pedigree. We'll talk about that later. If he does show some speed, I think he's going to be a strong threat in this race. You'll know probably in the first quarter mile or so if he can handle it. Other than that, I'm trying to figure out where the speed comes from. The 10 Eamonn chased a very fast pace last time out, going 1 1/16, but was very comfortable doing so from mid-pack. Not sure he has the kind of speed to really be a burner. African Heritage sort of strikes me in a similar vein. A horse that has tactical speed, not exactly a horse that likes to go to the front. So if Roadster can get to the lead, he might be able to get to the lead unopposed. And if he can back down the fractions over under Javion Toledo, he is a very interesting and intriguing first-time turf runner that might have a pace advantage. I want to talk about the number 1 English Tavern, a horse that finished first in his last 2 races but was disqualified from the Prince George's County. The race will show you right now, also at 1 1/8, but at Laurel Park. English Tavern made a wide bid on the turn to take command. He just had a better turn of foot than the horse to his inside, Eons. Eons got to the outside, tried to make a re-rallying run at English Tavern. English Tavern eventually sort of drifted out in the stretch, bumped Eons severely twice, and although English Tavern got to the wire in front, he was reprimanded by the stewards and disqualified. English Tavern, however, is in very good form. My one concern about the Prince George's County at Laurel was the pace didn't seem fast at all. They went 3/4 of a mile in 1:15.4. You would think the speed horses would do very well, and thus a horse like English Tavern, who came from last, would get extra points. But the speed horses collapsed. That race went to closers. Very hard to analyze how that race was truly run. Was the pace as slow as it appeared, or did the race flow benefit closers? Anyway, English Tavern's in good form. He is a one-run closer that will be near the back of the pack in the early part of this race. And as a one-run closer, he is often at the mercy of race and pace luck. I do think he is a nice horse. He proved he could handle stakes competition in that race, and he just looks like a late bloomer that might go off at a square price. The 2 is Baker's Boy, and I've been chasing Baker's Boy for a long time, and I do know that Shug McGahee trained runners generally improve with maturity and extra distance. He's 6 years old now, though, and I'm not sure if this horse is ever going to get back over the hump. He ran 5th in the Louisville going long in 2021. He showed some ability in stakes races. His last start at Colonial, they really tried to stretch him out in the 1.5 Colonial Cup, and he got right up close to the pace in that race. I thought the trip was pretty decent for him, but he just couldn't fire with some nice horses. Red Knight has a lot of class, and another mystery was coming into the race in good form. Baker's Boy now cuts back in distance. I think Shug's still trying to figure out, is he a marathoner? Is he a middle distance horse? He does have several figures that make him somewhat attractive in this race, and I don't think he's as much of a closer as English Tavern. Maybe he can stay close if the pace is slower. The number 3 is Captivating Moon. Now, he was listed as a vet scratch at Colonial on July the 19th, so he's coming into this race off a little bit of a layoff, but the race we're going to show you right now at Hawthorne, his first race listed as a gelding, was a really nice performance. He was near the back of the pack early, saved ground on the turn wisely, got to the outside in the stretch, What I don't like about the stretch run is that he didn't change leads on the stretch, but he was game. He got it for second. He got a very good figure for this race, a 93 buyer. He likes a little bit of give on the ground. That's something to consider with Captivating Moon. Several of his best races come when there's rain-softened turf. If it's firm, he can run well, but maybe not as well over yielding ground. But off that last buyer speed figure, he almost is an automatic contender at a fair price. I just wish he changed leads. Chris Block's such a good trainer. Maybe he worked on that since the last start at Hawthorne. The number 4, Beacon Hill, might be dirtied up a little bit. This is a horse that's been the beaten favorite in his last 2 starts. I thought he ran pretty well when beaten by Eons 2 starts back at Parks. He sort of made the lead. Maybe he hung a little bit. He was beaten a nose. I'm not going to hold that race against him. He ran a 91 buyer speed figure, and it looked just fine. I don't blame Victor Carrasco for his thought process in the Prince George's County. On paper, there was no speed. Beacon Hill tried to go right to the front. He was the favorite, and he was going to dominate that race. The pace was slow. It just looked like the pace horses got tired. The closers dominated. Maybe Beacon Hill was completely against the race flow in that race, and maybe he doesn't like to be on the lead at this point in his career. I'm expecting Adam Beskiza, who's aboard this time around, to take him back in the mid-pack and to try to make a bold run into the second turn to get into contention. I wouldn't sleep on Beacon Hill off one seemingly subpar try, but maybe not as bad as it looks on paper. He's 9-2 on the morning line. The 5 is King Vega, going out for the Great Graham Motion Barn. I think 1 1/8 might be okay for King Vega, a horse that won at 1 1/4 overseas. Now, he scored 2 starts back at Delaware Park. It was only a first-level allowance race, and then he got beat last time out of Colonial in a second-level race. But the horse that beat him is in very good form. That's Hot Blooded, who came back and ran 3rd in the Oceanport, I believe, last week at Monmouth Park, and earned a very respectable 89 buyer speed figure. This horse has run a solid 80, high 80 buyers in his last 2 races, another with some tactical speed, and you're getting one of the best barns in the business at a price. 12-1 on the morning line. Angel Suarez takes them out. Let's take a look at the number 6 in this race. That's African Heritage. Now, African Heritage is taking a big step up in class and a big step up in distance, but he deserves an opportunity at this level. His last 2 races came in allowance races, going a mile. He won his last race at Mountaineer as easy as can be. And he's got the tactical speed where if Roadster can't make the lead, maybe African Heritage will inherit the lead. I think he prefers having 1 or 2 horses in front of him, but he likes to be forwardly placed. And the way he rolled away from that field last time out, very visually impressive. Now he's just got to pop that figure up a little bit. He only earns an 83 buyer. Roadster is the 7, and in many ways he's the key to the race because he has the back class. He's a grade 1 winner on dirt. He has a very strong turf pedigree. Quality road, rock solid with any kind of horse, turf or dirt. The dam only raced once on the turf. Interestingly enough, it was a sprint race at Colonial Downs, a stakes race. She won that. And Roadster is a half-sister, half-brother to a horse named Ascend, who won the Grade 1 Manhattan, a very prestigious race at Belmont. He's also a half to a Grade 3 place turf runner named Moro Tap. Roadster's got a ton of turf pedigree. I do wonder if maybe it's a little late to try turf because he's had all sorts of various physical ailments throughout his career. Michael Stidham, an extremely strong trainer, and this horse could get close to the pace. Worth noting, though, this horse was listed as a vet scratch at Colonial last month. The number 8 in here is Militarist, and Militarist is seeking his first win since this race. This race was, coincidentally, the last time he ran on turf. This is way back in the summer of 2021, a first-level allowance race at Ellis Park. He settled near the back of the pack as the odds-on favorite, split horses on the second turn, and was simply too much for that field. Now, since then, his connections have decided, let's run him in some salty dirt races. They tried him in the Clark, and he was far from embarrassed against Maxfield last year, finishing 4th in that race. He's been plagued by layoff layoff lines throughout most of his career. I think he was in very tough in the blame last time out behind a much improved handicap horse named Dynamic One. His start 2 starts back was a good effort on dirt. He likes to come from out of it, but this is a horse that can step on turf, and he's getting Lasix on after racing without in the blame. This is a long shot you might want to consider. We're coming into this race fresh for a barn that does well off layoff lines. He's 15-1 on the morning line with Sammy Camacho aboard. Eons is the number 9. Eons was the beneficiary of the race we saw with English Tavern early on in the Prince George's County. And Eons, the main concern I have with a horse like this, who won this race last year, by the way, is that he might have just a little bit of hang in him. When you see his wins, and he's won 7 times in his career, he doesn't win by much. Trevor McCarthy's going to have to time it right, as he did 2 starts back at Parks when he beat Beacon Hill, getting a really nice trip, tipping off cover, getting to the outside, and getting it done. In the Prince George's County, he didn't have the burst of speed that English Tavern had on the second turn, but he will stay 1 1/8 miles. This is arguably his best distance. He obviously loves the surface here at Colonial. I think he's more tactically inclined than some of the other late runners in this race. 4-1, Trevor McCarthy aboard. A logical contender, but he can give you heart palpitations if he doesn't come, if he hangs a little bit in the stretch. The 10 is Eamonn, who just won at Colonial last time out. It was a pretty high-level allowance race, but he only beat 3 other horses, and it was a race where, in a 4-horse field, the pace was pretty fast. They went 47 in that 1.16 race, and I think Eamonn took advantage of not only a nice ground-saving trip, but also that fast pace. He is in good form. He's hit the board in his last 5 races. He deserves an opportunity in a tough race like this. This is a difficult outside post position that I'll have to overcome, and he's likely going to have to run the fastest race of his career. I think a buyer in the 90s is what's going to get this done, and he's yet to crack that plateau. Before we get to our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. Saratoga, Del Mar still in full swing. The Travers, the Pacific Classic coming up. Lots of content on DRF TV and on the YouTube channel. Top pick time for the Buckland Stakes. I'm going to go back to the defending champion. I think Eons ran very, very well in his most recent race. He tried hard after sort of being outrun on the second turn and then being herded out in the stretch. He had some try, but he also has a little bit of hang. It's up to Trevor McCarthy to time it right. I'm really curious to see what we get for Roadster, even though he didn't make my top 4 selections. Maybe Militarist at a big price. Getting back to turf will be sort of the wake-up call he's been looking for. It's a fun race at Colonial on Tuesday. It's a fun card full of quality stakes horses. It's the Buckland Stakes. Good luck.